This program is educational support and does not replace your clinician's advice. If dizziness is severe or sudden, or comes with fainting, weakness, chest pain, trouble speaking, a drooping face, or vision loss, please seek medical care promptly. Good morning and welcome. I'm glad you're here. At EverWell USA, our purpose is steady and simple. To help you protect your health and dignity with calm guidance you can use today, not someday, not after a perfect week, but in the life you are living right now. If that spirit serves you, please like, subscribe, and share so these messages reach someone you love. You are not walking this road alone. We walk beside you, one small, doable step at a time. Today, we're taking on a question many people whisper to themselves after 60. A question that sits between worry and hope. When I stand up and the room wobbles for a moment, is this just a normal passing spell? Or is it the body asking for more serious attention? If I told you that one very common reason for that brief wave of lightheadedness is not the brain itself but the neck's honest protest after years of service, and that another common reason is blood pressure that runs higher than it should, especially after salt, stress, or hurry, would that change what you try first? Most of us were taught to think of dizziness as a single mystery. We stand, the floor tilts, our heart jumps, and we either push through it or sit and pretend it didn't happen. But your body is clearer than that. It often speaks through two stories that live side by side. One is the story of cervical wear and tear, the joints and muscles at the top of the spine that guide your head through every yes and no, every reading session and phone call growing stiff, sending mixed messages to the balance system, and making the world feel unsteady when you change positions or hold one posture too long. The other is the story of blood pressure that hums too high in the background, sometimes spiking with salt or stress, sometimes swelling vessels so the head feels full and the room feels off. When you can tell those stories apart, fear softens and a practical plan steps forward. Think first about the neck you've carried through decades of living. It is not fragile. It is faithful. It kept your eyes on children learning to walk, on road signs in the rain, on recipes and crosswords and the faces of people you love. Those tiny joints between the skull and the top vertebrae are hinges that prefer smooth arcs and regular breaks. With age, the joints stiffen, the long muscles at the base of the skull tighten to help, and the small nerves that inform your inner balance system about head position can fire a little out of tune. You stand too quickly after staring down at a bill or a book, and the neck and the inner ear disagree for a heartbeat about where the head actually is. For 2 or 3 seconds, you feel a sway without motion, a small wash of not quite steady, sometimes paired with the tug at the back of the head, or a dull ache at the base of the skull. The sensation fades as your systems resync. Later that day, you tip your head back to reach a high shelf or glance down and twist to the side at the sink, and there it is again, the brief sense that the room is late to catch up. That is a neck-driven wobble, speaking in a polite voice. It tends to show up with certain angles, after long stillness, or when the head and eyes move one way while the body holds still another way. It is unnerving, and in most cases, not dangerous. It is the body asking you to give those hinges kinder conditions. Now place the second story beside it and notice how different it feels. A background of blood pressure that runs high, especially if it rises without your noticing, doesn't cause the same positional tug. It paints the day with a different color. The head can feel pressurized, the back of the neck tight, the temples full. The moments when you stand are not the only moments that feel off. A salty lunch, a hurried drive, an anxious phone call can join the mix. Your cheeks may flush, your pulse may feel more obvious, your patience may shorten without a clear reason. Not everyone with high pressure feels symptoms at all, and not every headache or wobble means the pressure is high. But many older adults discover that when the day runs hot with salt and stress, their vessels sing louder, and the world feels a size too small for a few minutes, even without big movements. The difference matters. Neck-driven unsteadiness is bossy about angles and postures. Pressure-driven unease is bossy about pace and salt. When you know which boss is speaking, your next step is obvious. It's easy, in the space between these two stories, to feel scolded by your own body. You stand and feel the wobble and think, I should be stronger. You check your pressure on a rushed afternoon and think, I should handle stress better. None of that helps. The truth is kinder. Older bodies do not ask for heroics. They ask for steadiness. The neck likes arcs more than angles, variety more than siege, and support more than force. The vessels like water spread through the day, salt used with a lighter hand, and moments of quiet before we measure so the numbers we write down match our true resting state. When you give the neck and the vessels those conditions, they return the favor faster than most people expect. Imagine the ordinary rhythm of a morning that belongs to you. You sit with a cup, you pay a bill, you look down longer than you meant to, and then you stand. If you stand the way you did at 20, you may invite the wobble. If you stand the way your body prefers now, you can often avoid it entirely. Feet flat first. Ankles pump a few times. A small slide forward in the chair. A pause. One slow breath, and then you rise with the chin gently floating back instead of jutting forward. You place a hand lightly on the chair back for 3 beats, while your neck and your inner ear agree about where you are. You are not pampering yourself for doing this. You are offering your balance system the head start it prefers. Later, when you move at the sink or reach for a shelf, you let the feet pivot with you instead of asking the top 2 neck joints to do all the rotation alone. The wobble visits less, because you are no longer tugging on the very hinges that complain. The next story also answers well to a small change in how you read, watch, and rest. A book that lives at chest level forces your head to hang forward like a lantern. A book that lives at eye level lets the head rest like a cup on a saucer. A screen that meets your eyes where they already live saves your neck from the strain that sets up later unsteadiness. A pillow that holds the back of your head so your nose points to the ceiling and supports the curve of your neck, not too high, not too flat, turns restless nights into mornings where your first turn left or right doesn't scold you. These are not decorations. They are structural kindnesses. On the other side of the room, the blood pressure story asks for a different kindness. If you own a cuff, the way you use it matters more than most people realize. A number grabbed after walking from the kitchen, hurrying to sit, and strapping on the cuff tells you more about rushing than about your body. A number taken after 5 quiet minutes, feet flat, back supported, arm at heart level, and a breath that tells the body it's safe. That number tells the truth of your resting day. If you see higher numbers during salty weeks and louder days, that is not your mind inventing patterns. It is your vessels voting. They vote for steadier water across the day, especially in the morning when many older adults unintentionally run dry, and a lighter hand with the salt that hides in soups, deli meats, sauces, and frozen meals. They vote for a pause before you stand, not because you're fragile, but because your system likes predictability more than ambush. What about danger? The word that sits behind any talk of dizziness. It matters that we say this plainly. Sudden, violent spinning, fainting, new weakness, trouble speaking, a drooping face, chest pain, breathlessness, a sudden, worst ever headache. These are calls to be seen now. Most brief wobbles on standing do not belong to that list. Most come from the kind of neck that wants kinder angles or from pressure that would like you to trade hurry for stillness and heavy salt for something simpler. Part of your dignity is knowing both sets of facts, what to watch for and when to take a breath and carry on. There is also a quiet, emotional truth tucked into all of this. Dizziness steals confidence before it steals anything else. People begin to arrange their days around the fear of rising in front of others. They avoid a neighbor's porch steps, stand up during church with a little prayer of hope, skip the short trip to the park because they remember the last time they stood too fast and the world slid. You deserve better than that smallness. Confidence returns in the same small steps that comfort returns. When you feel the wobble shrink because you paused and rose differently. When your evenings show steadier numbers because you measured in stillness and watered your day. You learn something deeper than a tip. You learn that your actions change your experience, that knowledge is medicine. Let me give you 2 tiny commitments you can create before bed that put this lesson into your muscles, not just your mind. Every time you rise today, from your chair, from the couch, from bed, use the same rhythm. Feet flat, ankles pump, Slide forward, pause for one slow breath, rise with the chin floating back, hand light on a surface for 3 beats before you step. It takes seconds, and your body will memorize it quickly because it feels safe. And at some point this afternoon or evening, if a cuff lives in your home, sit quietly for 5 minutes and take a reading you can trust. Write the number down with one word that describes the day: hurried, salty, rested. So tomorrow has something better than memory to guide it. You are not making homework. You are building a map. Maps don't remove hills. They help you climb them without getting lost. You came here wondering whether that brief wave when you stand is ordinary or ominous. You leave this first chapter with a kinder lens. How a faithful neck asks for arcs instead of angles, and breaks instead of siege. How vessels ask for quieter salt, steadier water, and numbers taken in true rest. How both stories can live in the same day without taking the day from you. This is not about becoming careful to the point of fear. It is about becoming steady to the point of freedom. When you rise with a pause and a plan, the room meets you steady and you meet it back. You and I left off with a steadier way to hear what that back of the head wobble is saying, how a loyal neck asks for kinder angles and breaks, and how days that run salty or hurried can nudge pressure higher and make the world feel a size too small. Now we turn from understanding into muscle memory. We're going to stitch small choices into the ordinary seams of your day, so your balance system feels trusted and your vessels feel unhurried. This isn't about becoming careful to the point of fear. It's about becoming consistent to the point of freedom, so standing up and moving through a room is no longer a moment you brace for, but a thing you do without thinking. Begin with the hour that most often trips older adults, the long sit that turns into a sudden stand. It could be church, the evening news, a phone call with a friend, a crossword at the kitchen table. You look down, you live there for a while, and then you rise as if your body were still 20. The neck, which has been holding your head forward like a lantern, says, "Hold on." And the inner ear, which tracks head position in space, says, "Where did we go?" For 2 or 3 seconds, the world delays. The fix is not a lecture, it's a rhythm. You bring your feet flat, you pump your ankles as if you were nudging a small pedal, you slide forward an inch and give yourself one slow breath, then you stand with your chin floating back instead of lunging forward. You rest a hand on the chair back for a quiet count of 3 while your hinges and your balance agree on the new plan. This whole sequence takes less time than a sigh, and when you repeat it across a day, the wobble loses its favorite stage. Now carry that same kindness into how you position your head during the things you love. When you read, bring the words up to your eyes, rather than hauling your head down to the page. When you watch a show, let the screen meet you at eye level, instead of peering at it from below. When you fold laundry or rinse dishes, turn with your feet, instead of letting the top 2 neck joints do all the rotation alone. Your neck prefers arcs over angles, glides over cranks, warm changes over jerks. It has carried you through decades without complaint. It is allowed to request choreography that suits its age. Give it that choreography and it will repay you with fewer late-day tugs and a quieter back of the head. I want you to picture a scene that belongs to many homes. It's late afternoon, the kind of light that makes the counters look clean and kind. You've been opening mail and writing a check. You set the pen down, stand, and the old you would have pushed through the brief sway because there were carrots to chop and a call to return. The new you does something almost invisible. Feet flat. Ankles pump. Slide. Pause. Lift tall. Chin gliding back as if a string drew it gently. Your hand rests on the chair back long enough for your neck and inner ear to agree that north is still north. You step. The room greets you steady. You didn't win a prize. You did something better. You built trust between your body and your mind. On days when the neck is not the only voice, when the vessels hum louder after a restaurant meal, on a stressful morning, during a week when sleep is short, you have different levers. Water spread through the hours steadies the background more reliably than a late big glass. A lighter hand with the shaker. A glance at the labels that hide salt in friendly places like soups and sauces. A choice of fresh overpackaged once or twice more than usual. These small votes add up, and the way you measure matters. A number taken in the middle of rushing tells you more about rushing than about you. When you want truth, You sit quietly for 5 minutes. Feet flat, back supported, arm at heart level, and you breathe as if you were teaching your shoulders that they don't have to hold up the ceiling alone. That number reflects your resting day. If you're curious about how standing changes the picture, you can take a reading after you've been seated, then stand and take one a minute later and again around 3 minutes, not to scare yourself, but to learn your own pattern. Patterns are kinder than guesses because they tell you which lever to pull next. There's a place where these two stories, neck and pressure, shake hands, and it surprises people. The shower. Hot water relaxes vessels and softens muscles, which is a gift and a trap. If you stand under heat until the room fogs and then step out quickly, both stories can speak at once. The vessels are a touch too relaxed, the neck is a touch too stiff, and the world tilts for a breath. You don't have to abandon comfort. You can trim the heat a little, trim the time a little, place a small seat in the stall for the part of the shower, when you soap your legs or rinse your hair, and dry yourself while still inside so you're not rushing. If you feel even a hint of dimness after, sit on the closed lid for 30 seconds and breathe. This isn't fragility, it's skill. Errands are a different teacher. Grocery lines, bank counters, pharmacy windows all share one bad habit. They lure the head forward, the shoulders up, and the breath shallow. You can answer with anchors you carry in your pocket. In line, let your crown float as if there were a book up there you don't want to drop. Rest the shoulders down and back without force. Let your chin glide back a finger's width. Breathe as if you were fogging a window slowly. When it's your turn, bring your eyes to the small screen, rather than pleading with your neck to crane. If the room is chilled by air conditioning and your muscles brace, a light scarf over the back of the neck turns a draft into a whisper. People around you won't notice the difference. Your tissues will. Driving has its own rules. A seat back that meets your spine and a headrest that meets the back of your head are not luxuries. They are a way to avoid hanging your head from your neck like a weight on a rope. If you like to sit up close, make sure you're not jutting your chin toward the wheel. A small adjustment, a notch back, a notch up can turn an hour-long drive from a recipe for a late-day ache into a ride your neck forgives. During the day, let red lights be a cue. 2 slow breaths, a soft reset of crown and shoulders and chin, hands light on the wheel. You are not making traffic spiritual. You are teaching your body that you will not yank it through the day. When we talk about dizziness, we also have to talk about fear. Fear tightens everything. The neck braces, breath shortens, shoulders climb, and the moment you were afraid of feels closer because the body thinks it's protecting you by preparing for impact. That's why tiny successes matter so much. The first time you stand with your new rhythm and the wobble doesn't come, write it on a small card you keep by the phone. The first time you measure after 5 calm minutes and the number is kinder than the one you snatched yesterday in a rush, write that too. Evidence is oxygen for confidence. Without it, you're stuck remembering the scariest moments. With it, you're free to remember the steady ones. Some of you care for a partner who wobbles and refuses the pause because they don't want to look old. Invite them to a different story. Tell them you're practicing a new way to stand and you need a teammate. Make the pause about choreography, not age. People accept change better when it's framed as skill, not surrender. And if you are the partner who needs the pause, let the people who love you help. An arm lightly offered, a steady point at the table, a reminder to breathe. These are not signs of weakness. They are proof. You have people. There will be days when both stories get louder. You spent the morning sponging cabinets and the afternoon at a birthday dinner with a generous hand on the salt. You come home, sit, and when you stand, the world shifts for a beat. The old you would have blamed yourself and pushed through. The new you smiles, sits back down for 3 breaths, stands with your rhythm, walks to the sink for a glass of water, and takes 5 quiet minutes before you check your number. If it's steady, you've done enough. If it's higher than your usual rest, you write it down with one true word, salty, and you let that word shape tomorrow's choices without shame. Shame never cured a wobble. Steadiness often does. Evenings are where necks rehearse the mornings. A pillow that serves you while reading may undo you while sleeping. Too high and the neck bends forward. Too flat and the head drops back. The sweet place is where your nose points to the ceiling, and the back of your neck rests in a soft curve that your fingers can't slide under like a canyon and can't flatten like a road. You can build that with what you own, one pillow and a folded towel, that's all. When you find it, you'll know because the first look left or right in the morning won't scold you. Consider, too, the lamp by your chair. A softer light that shines on the page instead of into your eyes can undo an entire day's worth of bracing. The body listens to brightness, give it less glare, and it lets your shoulders drop. You may wonder how long it takes for these small things to add up. The honest answer is, long enough to feel like you're doing something real, and short enough to give you momentum. People often report that by day 3 the wobble is still visiting, but less bossy. By day 7 the sequence to stand feels natural. And by the second week, the number they write after 5 calm minutes is kinder than the one they use to snatch between chores. None of that is magic. It's choreography, and choreography is just a promise kept by your muscles. Let's drop into one more small scene, because scenes are where knowledge sticks. You're at your neighbor's kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon. The two of you split a slice of pie and trade stories. When it's time to go, you both stand with the same quiet rhythm you've been practicing. Feet, ankles, slide, breath, float, hand count 3. Your neighbor laughs softly and says, "Look at us, moving like we mean it." On the walk home, the sky feels wider, and the ache behind your head is quiet enough that you notice the sound of the wind in the trees. You didn't become younger. You became kinder to the body you live in, and it answered in the only language it has. Steadier steps, a clearer horizon, a day that stays the size it should be. Before we pause, I want you to create 2 results you can feel by tonight. First, choose one scene you use every day, a favorite chair, the sink where you rinse dishes, the spot where you do bills, and adjust it so your head can live over your chest instead of in front of it. Raise what you look at, or bring your work closer, or slip a folded towel behind the curve of your neck. Then, practice your rising rhythm every time you leave that spot. Second, give your evening a 5-minute island of stillness. Sit, feet flat, back supported, arm at heart level if you're measuring, and breathe like you belong in your own body. If you keep a cuff, take a reading and write it beside one word that describes the day. If you don't, breathe anyway and write the word anyway. That word will guide tomorrow more gently than any rule. You came to this part to make dizziness less mysterious and less bossy. You're leaving with a rhythm you can trust, a neck that feels heard, vessels that get a fair chance to relax, and a handful of anchors you can carry into lines, cars, pews, kitchens, and showers. None of this asks you to be perfect. It asks you to be faithful to small things. Small things, repeated, turn into freedom. By now, you've seen how 2 simple stories, the neck's faithful hinges and the vessel's quiet votes, shape the way you feel when you rise. You've practiced a rhythm to stand, a kinder posture to sit, and a calmer way to measure. You've added small anchors in showers, errands, and evenings. The wobble has lost some of its mystery, and your days are already wider. In this last part, let's gather everything into a vision for living forward, not just managing symptoms. Because the real victory is not fewer dizzy moments. It is more freedom, more trust, more dignity in the life you already love. Picture a Sunday morning that belongs to you. You're in your kitchen, coffee steaming, light filtering through the blinds. A month ago, you would have braced when you stood from the chair, worried the room might tilt. Today you rise with the rhythm you've learned, and the floor stays steady. You smile before you even taste the coffee, because steadiness has become part of your morning. That smile is proof that confidence has returned. The world feels more yours again. Let's carry that steadiness into connection, because dizziness doesn't just pull at your body, it shrinks your social world. Many people stop going to church, skip bridge clubs, or hesitate to travel because they fear a wobble in public. But confidence grows in company. When you practice your rhythm around others, when you let a friend know you're taking a moment to stand tall, you turn what once felt like embarrassment into shared humanity. Your neighbor may even nod and say, "Me too." That moment of solidarity is medicine your heart recognizes immediately. Loneliness worsens every ache, connection lightens it. Think also about the places where confidence ripples forward. When you master standing slowly and calmly, you also master walking into your clinician's office without rehearsing fear. You bring your written notes, dates, times, one word about how you felt, and suddenly the appointment shifts. It's no longer guesswork. You're not a passive patient waiting to be told. You're a partner showing a map. And when you show a map, the person guiding you can choose a better path. This is what dignity looks like in practice. Not a life without symptoms, but a life where your voice and your choices matter. Now, imagine another scene. A trip to visit family. Suitcase zipped, you step off the curb at the bus stop. The old worry about falling is gone, replaced with the memory of your rhythm. Feet flat. Ankles pump. Pause. Rise tall. The wobble doesn't claim the moment. You walk to the bus steady, holding a gift bag, not your fear. Later, when the day runs hot, with laughter and saltier food than usual, you take your pause, sip water, jot a quick note, and rest. You don't punish yourself for enjoying the day. You balance it. That balance is the quiet definition of health at this age. Not perfection, but steadiness in motion. None of this is about becoming careful to the point of shrinking. It's about becoming steady to the point of expanding. You can still garden, still dance, still play with grandchildren on the floor, still take a walk around the block with a neighbor. The difference is that you enter these moments with tools you trust. Tools that keep you upright, calm, and present. And presence is the real medicine here. A grandchild doesn't remember whether you stood quickly or slowly. They remember that you were there, laughing, steady enough to join the story. So let's close with 2 lasting commitments. First, treat every transition as a chance to practice your rhythm. Feet, ankles, pause, rise tall. Make it muscle memory until your body does it without thought. Second, treat every dizzy spell not as failure, but as feedback. Write 1 line about it when it came. How it felt, what you ate, how you slept. Over weeks, those lines will draw you a map clearer than any lecture. And a map is a gift you give yourself. You came here wondering, is the dizziness when I stand just a stiff neck, or is it something dangerous? You leave knowing it can be both, and you carry tools for each. You know how to ease a faithful neck, how to calm restless vessels, how to measure truth, and how to recognize red flags that need urgent care. Most of all, you know that your dignity is not defined by symptoms, but by choices, and you have choices every day. That is hope. That is health in motion. That is freedom earned not through perfection, but through steadiness.